in the woods with no danger. This is the first of what I hope to be multiple post-mortem videos about my God's creation play-by-post Bronstein thing. Although I suppose technically in this case, this first video is a pre-mortem because the game hasn't ended yet, but it's going to. It's very imminent, and because I am above the fog of war, I kind of know how things are going to shake out in the end, mostly. The game's going to end next Saturday. Not tomorrow, but the Saturday after that. And it's going to have been 7 months. And it's been amazing. There's been highs and lows. And I guess this first video is to talk a little bit about the logistics of the thing. And then I'm hoping to get some comments from my players about how they think this went and things they would do different and etc. But basically how we ran this is we used a variant of Dawn of Worlds, which you can find for free as a PDF. Each player got a number of points each week to spend on actions that their god would perform. Anywhere from creating a race, to changing the terrain, to burning a city down, to all manner of things. And we had loose domains and alignment affiliations, but the main thing was just to make cool stuff. And make a world that we wanted to adventure in. Make a world that was interesting and exciting to play D&D in. And so each player got their points, and rather than having all the points submitted all at once, or have all the actions submitted all at once each week, we had the players submit their orders on a given day of the week. So my orders on Sunday, my brother on Monday, so on and so forth. And this dissolved a bit of the fog of war, because you could react to other players' actions or get the drop on another player because you went earlier in the week. But overall, I think it was better in terms of cognitive load. But it has another tangential benefit that I will now go on a tangent about, which is the game went for 7 months, and there was a post about it. Something happened in that game world every single day for 7 months. Every single day. With a couple exceptions when a player would just not post anything, they might miss their turn, but generally speaking, every single day for 7 months, something happened in this campaign world. Something changed. And this is simply more than any of us have been able to cognitively keep up with for the most part. Especially because a lot of these actions didn't just come in the form of a brief description, but rather paragraphs of lore and storytelling and poetry and images. It's such a rich tapestry of history that we've cultivated for this world that stretches back almost 100,000 years in game. Like, it's a massive timeline. Probably not quite 100,000, but I think, no, yeah, over 100,000. Over 100,000 years of time. And when you have that going on, it means that most players have a big picture understanding of most things in the world. They know what the races are. They know what the major cities and empires are. They know the basics of various gods and religions and factions. But all the nitty-gritty is just lost in a wash of quantity of information. And I think that this is going to be really handy when we go to actually play in this world, in that the player characters will have a diegetic ambient knowledge of the world, but the players won't necessarily have a particularly high-resolution meta-knowledge about the world. So the setting becomes familiar, which is great for immersion and great for player agency, while at the same time, even though several players were playing bad guys or evil gods, I'm not worried about that, like, spoiling information or spoiling evil secrets, because I don't think those players will remember, and there was so much going on that they can be woven together into this tapestry of events that will be unpredictable even to the people who caused them. So that turn structure worked out really good for us, and the length of time worked out really good for us. The duration, I think, is really what has made this such a special thing. First and foremost, because it allows for this really rich timeline that is not gimmicky. Something that I feared when I first read Dawn of Worlds is that the game would dissolve or break down into, like, meme actions or gimmick characters, gimmick factions, and that just didn't happen. Because we agreed ahead of time to try and keep pop culture stuff to a minimum. There are some jokes here and there. There's a city underwater made out of living tissue called the Ever Dreaming Aqueous Meat City, or acronym EDAMCH for short. And then later we built a beaver dam lodge on top of the EDAMCH, like, and called that Edamsterdam. And so, like, you get some jokes, you get a couple little gimmicks there, but for the most part, it's played pretty straight. And what's really cool about the duration is also that it kind of reflects the shifting influences of the players, where my one player, when he started out, he was reading Beowulf, and so he was doing a lot of Anglo-Saxon inspired, like, alliterative poetry and, like, references to runes and like mead halls and all of this stuff. But then later he went on a vacation to Japan, and when he came back, he was making goblins in pagodas with tea ceremonies, and these are all we wouldn't have had this kind of diversity of input and this variety of flavors coming from individual players had we sat down and played Dawn of Worlds in a single session or over 2 sessions. If we sat down and played Dawn of Worlds when we first decided to play the game and just did it live all in one day, that player likely would have basically just stuck with the Anglo-Saxon Viking theme for the entire game. And you'd get this really monolithic, almost caricaturized version of a culture and of a god. But by stretching it out and giving things time to breathe, giving things time to develop and evolve, and giving the players time to change their mood, change their interests, what's exciting to them in the moment, how are they feeling, what movies are they watching, what books are they reading. This allows for history to really move in, like, phases where, like, one guy, when he started, he was naming his stuff kind of with a vaguely Hebrew phonetic or grammatical structure, like kind of a Semitic language flair to the stuff that he was creating. And then as time went on, he shifted to a Slavonic Cyrillic sound, just because he thought it sounded cool. And this meant that the different phases of history then have different flavors of language, different cultures. Cultures evolve and change. They adopt new customs. They abandon old ones. Some cultures cease to exist. New ones replace them. And it really was only possible because of how much time we gave ourselves. If you only have to do one thing per week, you have time to make it cool. You have time to give it flair. You have time to situate it in relation to the rest of the world in a way that you wouldn't have if you were hammering out a new set of god actions every 20 minutes on a Saturday afternoon. So the duration thing was really special. It did lead to a bit of burnout. There was definitely, over the summer, a lull of interest, and, like, less stuff happened and things kind of tapered out. But you just kind of stick through it. You just kind of hunker down, and interest picks back up when one person does something exceptionally interesting, and now everyone's like, oh gosh, I have to respond to that. There was definitely some rulings that I made as a referee that I would change, that I would do differently were I to ever do this again. There was contention about, is it legitimate to, as one god, use or command the cities or the cults or the great heroes that were created by another god? Like, if God A creates a city, is it legitimate for God B to command that city to do something? And we ruled that contingently yes. This led to it led to a lot of interesting stuff, and you get a kind of a more polytheistic feel where the people of this world worship multiple gods. They recognize the existence of multiple gods, and different gods might call on the same city at different times. But it did lead to sometimes spamming or doing illegitimate, like taking actions that felt cheap or that tampered with the innate character of the thing that was being directed or commanded. It's like, well, would that city really participate in that? Would that demigod really do that? Maybe, maybe not. But overall, and I would probably, the other thing I would probably change is I probably would handle warfare a little differently. Because sometimes it felt a little one-sided, it felt a little reductive. I kind of think I tried to go halfway between wargaming out armed conflicts and simply saying, you spend the points, you take the territory. And I kind of think I should have just gone with the former. Go full diplomacy. If you have a larger army, you simply win. And we move on. But it's too late. It's too late to change these things. And I think the central message of this video is to say that while there are good things and bad things, there's stuff that I would do differently, I don't think I'm ever going to do that stuff differently. Because I don't know if I'm ever going to do this again. It was a huge endeavor. It was months of time and coordinating and berating my friends at 11:30 at night saying, get your orders in the next half hour or else. It was this huge undertaking. And so from a logistics perspective, it's unlikely that I'll be able to convince them to do it again. But more importantly, I don't want to build another world. There is a lifetime of adventure on this map. There is a lifetime of campaigns. There is at least 7 or 8 different themed settings or campaign regions of different genre that could be explored. There's so much there. It really is like some of the great official campaign settings out there, like Warhammer or Greyhawk or whatever, where there's just so much there that you could explore it for decades and not even scratch the surface. But unlike those official published settings, I look at the map right now, which is basically complete. There's going to be a couple more changes before the game is over, but it's basically finished cooking. And I look at almost any single point on that map, and I remember who did that, and when they did it, and how they did it, and the look on their face when they told me that they were going to do that thing. It has the fingerprints of my friends all over it. Every time I look at the map, and this is where we get sentimental, every time I look at that map, it has the DNA of the imaginations that I've gamed with for, 10 years. 10 years of gaming with these guys. Or at least some of these guys. There's been some new additions and there's been some losses over the years, but this group overall, 10 years of gaming with these guys, and now we have a campaign world where I look at the map and I can see their imaginative DNA everywhere. I can see their personality shining through in all the different facets and nooks and crannies and factions and monuments and cities, and it's really special. It's special in a way that I don't think we could get lightning in a bottle to do again. I don't think that we could capture this kind of the essential personality of our gaming club again. And this is why I strongly endorse this activity. Building a campaign world and taking the time to do a good job. Setting aside half a year to really build it meticulously and patiently with love and dedication, scheming, collaboration, backstabbing. The works. It has me wanting to train or teach my players how to DM, because I want to see them run games in the parts of the world that they got to create. I want to see them run adventures and campaigns in the different pockets of this world, both because I think it would be good for them, they would like it, they would enjoy it, they'd be good at it. I've seen playing this Gods game has let me see what happens when you give world executive fiat or control to certain players, and what I've seen is incredible raw potential for dungeon mastering, for running the game, for running a campaign. And so I want them to do that, because I want to play in this world as much as I want to run it. And I want to play in lots of different parts of this world and see different facets of it. And also because despite my best efforts to spread my activity across the map and do different things and explore different chunks of the map and create different factions and generally try to be, evenly distributed across the game world in my influence on it as my actions for my god, I ended up getting stuck. I got trapped by this city that my friend made very, very early in the game. It's not the oldest, but it's almost the oldest city in the world. And I've always been a fan of urban fantasy, Discworld like the Night's Watch, or a lot of the city-based stuff that you see in Book of the New Sun, or obviously I love Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser and Lankmar. And I have this just insane, multi-layered, Pratchett-ish, Lankmar-ish, maniac city that is old and decadent and Byzantine, and I just want to run games in there forever. Like more than like obviously the whole world is really exciting, and I expect I'll get to explore it as a game master. But I got a city. I got to build a city with my friends that I like so much that I think about it basically every single day. Multiple times a day, I'm thinking about PAX. I'm thinking about Tria Pax Uno, which was the name of the city initially, and everyone just abbreviated it to PAX. I'm thinking about PAX multiple times a day, every single day. It is it's such a beautiful, it's an ugly city, but it's a beautiful city. It's an old city, but it's constantly remaking itself. It's Heraclitean. It's like it's everything I would ever want out of a science fantasy Appendix N city. It's incredible, and all I want to do is make maps of it and run games in it and run Braunsteins of the factions inside it, and I just think about PAX all the time, and that is something that I've never experienced with one of my own homebrew settings. I've basically never run, with the exception of a Star Wars game and my initial foray into Blades in the Dark, I don't generally run with like official fantasy settings. I generally have always been a homebrew guy. I've always been a, like, make my own map and make my own cities and make my own dungeons kind of guy. And I have never made a setting that I am so obsessed with and so in love with as this collaborative venture. So you need to go and you need to find 6 friends and you need to download a copy of Dawn of Worlds, and you need to work out a rotation of dropping orders once every single day, and you need to make a world like this. You need to make a world like this. You need to commit. You need to resist the urge to be goofy or to meme about it. You need to resist the urge to do dumb stuff and just fully, sincerely commit to pushing the imaginations of you and all your players to the limit in the creation of your own world. Just do it. I don't care if it's hard. I don't care if you think it'll take a long time. That's what makes it so good. That's what has made it so good, is that it took a long time. It's that it was hard. This has been a wonderful, wonderful experience, and I'm so grateful to my players for going out on a limb and letting me put them through this, because the results are they're just spectacular. And if I'm very lucky, I'll be able to convince a couple of them to maybe come on a stream or something and talk a bit about it in one or more post-mortems. I already see like flashpoints of conflict where we could do like battle Bronsteins or like session Bronsteins. I see areas for campaigns. I see like war game avenues where we could do like big army on the move stuff. It's the bee's knees, man. And I could go on about how excited I am for another like 3 hours. But suffice to say, despite all my reservations, I consider this a massive success. I'm so happy with the finished product, and I'm so proud of all my players for committing to the slog of getting their orders out every week, and even if it's just a little thing. Sometimes it's just a minimum effort engagement, but without every single guy that participated in this, the world would not be the same, and it would be worse for it. So, yeah, this is your sign. If you're seeing this video, go look up Dawn of Worlds and do it as a play-by-post and be patient, and you're going to get something really, really incredible. So, this has been Night Danger in the Woods, signing off, and we'll see you later.